So guys, I watched all of One Piece and I think Haki is real. After finishing One Piece, I really wanted to make a video about why you guys should watch One Piece. I want to talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, what were my favorite arcs or my least favorite arcs. I want to get all my theories out for the future so I can look back on this and see what I got right, see what I got wrong, and finally make my case for Haki being a real thing. Also, watch this video to the end because I know you're about to click off. So guys, after watching all of Boruto, I flipped a coin to see if I was going to watch One Piece or Bleach first, and I'm glad it ended up being One Piece because I am now, after finishing One Piece, I'm now of the opinion that One Piece is peak fiction. If you haven't watched One Piece, I highly recommend you watch it now more than ever. The reason being is because we still don't know what the One Piece is. Right now is the only time for you to watch One Piece without it possibly being spoiled for you. Also, guys, if you have friends that tell you to watch One Piece, it's just because they want to talk to you about it and kind of like theorize. Because in my opinion, the best part about One Piece isn't even really the show itself, even though it's awesome and peak fiction, definitely watch it. But the best part about One Piece is being able to theorize with your friends, or spending even more countless hours watching theories on YouTube. The manga has been going for over 26 years at this point, with over 1160 manga chapters and 1140 episodes. So to be a One Piece fan, you kind of gotta kiss goodbye like hundreds of hours. And there's still so much to be answered. What is the One Piece? What is the Will of D? What happened during the Void Century? Who is Joy Boy? Who is Davy Jones? And the list goes on and on. I get it, it's super long. The pacing is horrendous. Luckily for you, they are redoing the animations for the beginning of the show, especially when it was in 4:3, so it'll be a lot easier to get into One Piece at first, and they're cutting out like a substantial part of the anime, or just watch the live action. I've been really liking the live action. I think how I actually got into One Piece was I watched the live action first. And if you're still not convinced to watch One Piece, I have one more thing. Nico Robin's Gya! So what do I like about One Piece? First, I have to talk about the world building, because Oda is a master chef going to culinary school the way he's cooking up the worlds in One Piece. Every arc is a world within itself, and is always totally different, but always still fits the One Piece style perfectly. Obviously, some arcs are better than others, and I'm going to do a tier list later in this video. But something I really do have to applaud Oda for is how over time, the story has just gotten better and better. One Piece has its moments of being booty, where I was literally watching it to fall asleep. But it also has its moments where I cannot miss the next episode for the life of me. But overall, the story in and of itself has not stopped getting peaker. And Oda himself will not stop cooking. And that's not even to mention what's happening right now in the manga with God Valley. I also think Oda's plotline is just so sick. He's also not afraid to kind of go outside of the lines within the plot, which I really like. I also think just the premise of One Piece as a whole is better than really any other anime out there. Gold Roger's treasure being the ultimate prize, and the whole series kind of being just a treasure hunt to the end, that's so fucking sick. The system of the world government is something that I find super interesting, and One Piece isn't afraid to tackle huge taboo subjects, political and ethical topics like genocide, slavery, and a few other things that I'm sure that I can't talk about on YouTube. Start of One Piece has Luffy and Kobe sitting and talking about how Kobe's like, pirates are bad, and Luffy's like, not the pirates I know, so there's like good pirates and there's bad pirates, and then Luffy's mission is against the world government. Kobe's like, I want to be a Marine, that's my dream, and Luffy's like, you achieve your dreams. So on the other side, there's also good and bad Marines, so there's good and bad people on both sides of the equation. And Imu's ideas of absolute justice, where the lies of the devil are very enticing. As for the greatest good, for the greatest number of people, which is kind of just allowing him to justify wiping the entirety of Ohara and a few other things, because they might hold the key to the ancient weapons, which might destroy even more lives in the future. This is almost like the trolley problem, where Imu, the literal devil of the One Piece, feels it's justified to pull the lever and take justice into his own hands and kill one civilization, the scholars of Ohara, to save civilizations in the future. And on the other hand, we have Blackbeard with his will just decides to pretty much destroy the whole world and rebuild, because there is no true justice at all, which is completely the opposite of Imu's absolute justice being total anarchy. And then we have Luffy kind of in the center, uniting the people, saying there are no good or bad people, it's just people. And it's wrong to try and play God and take justice into your own hands. And Luffy's almost set up to be the sort of Jesus character in the story, where his morals and everything are the correct ones, standing in the center of absolute justice and total anarchy, and repeatedly says he doesn't want to be a hero. He almost never takes the glory of the good in the story, He leaves Wano, letting everybody believe it was Momonosuke that saved the land of Wano. He does it just to do it, to accomplish his mission of being the freest person in the world. And he sees becoming the king of the pirates as the way to do that. Either way, just the premise of the story of One Piece is way better than any other anime out there. There's just so much more than just the One Piece too, because we don't even know what Luffy's actual dream is. I mean, obviously we know he wants to be the freest person in the world, but him getting the One Piece and becoming king of the pirates is just step one to whatever his next dream is that he said off camera, and we got the reactions to all of his crew for that as well. And on top of that, someone will have to defeat Emu and overthrow the tyranny of the world government. Oh, One Piece is just so good. But let's talk about a few things that I didn't like. Something that I didn't actually love necessarily is that the power system is very I was gonna say underdeveloped, but I guess that's not the word for it. Let me explain what I mean. I think the power system is just not delved into as much as it could be. I'm not saying that Devil Fruits and Haki are a bad power system. I'm not critiquing the power system in itself, but I'm just saying it's a little bit... we only got the one scene. There's one scene in and of itself, one of the best, most interesting parts of One Piece ever, in my opinion. I would love to see more of this, but Zoro and Mr. One are fighting, and he's like on the brink of death, and he says to himself, "Oh man, I've been here before. This is so eerily silent. It's almost like standing at the gates of Hades." And he says, "I can feel the rhythm of I can hear the breath of his iron." And like that kind of stuff is what I really would like One Piece to delve into. But other than that, we only really have that one scene where, you know, they dive deep into the power system of One Piece. I mean, during the Sabaody arc, Luffy does get trained by Silver's Rayleigh a little bit, and we get a little bit of like what armament Haki is and how to train observation Haki. And, you know, another thing that I have a kind of gripe with One Piece is that nobody else on the crew asks each other for how to get more powerful. Like for example, when the whole crew sees Luffy make his whole punch black, and he's using armament Haki to like fight, and I feel like that would be so useful to like all of the other crew, and nobody else has the ambition to want to get more powerful either. A lot of the time when we see these power-ups, they're just like they power up with like little to no explanation behind the power system. They're just the only real explanation for it is that they're in the fight, and a lot of the time you'll learn how to power up in the fight more than anything, because, you know, it's either like you power up during the fight or you lose, and a lot of the time the Straw Hats end up winning, so they have to power up. But then there's no like explanation behind the Haki of why they powered up, or like how they did it, or like what they're doing. So it is what it is. But for example, armament and observation Haki can be learned by anyone. And unlike Conqueror's Haki, which you have to be born with. So like, why doesn't Zoro look at Luffy, who just turned his whole fist black, and try and ask him to learn how to do that as well? Because every single fight that Zoro goes into, he comes out being just blood all over him, and he's like on the brink of death after every single fight. Zoro would greatly benefit from having the defensive ability of armament Haki. Something I also didn't like is it's kind of inconsistent. I said that Oda has gotten nothing but better, but it's more of like a little bit of like you know what I mean? Because there are you'd get like an awesome arc where we have Enies Lobby and Water 7, and then we have Thriller Bark, and it's kind of like shit. And then we have two awesome arcs where it's like we get Marine Ford, we get Sabaody Archipelago, and then we get Fishman Island, where Sanji is almost dying because he almost saw some titties. Like, what? Also, don't even get me started on how some people are saying that you can't be a right-wing person and watch One Piece because there are like gay characters and trans characters in One Piece, which like the whole island of the place that Sanji goes to during the time skip, that's just so fucking gay. Like, are you kidding me here? Like, really? Obviously, not every arc is going to be awesome. Not every arc is going to be Marineford. But I also do want to talk about how fucking awesome the art is in One Piece. It's specifically in the manga, because you see, especially during Marineford, we have these big double page wide screens of the whole war happening. That is so fucking sick. Just that I'm putting it up on the screen right here, but that's such a beautiful art piece. But that's just some stuff and that I did and I did not like. So actually, let's get into the tier list and we'll go into each arc. Alrighty, guys. So we got our tier list here, and we have it all in order. And we're gonna start with Romance Dawn. So Romance Dawn, I'm gonna put in A tier because of the plot point. I mean, Shake's losing his arm is really cool. Kobe and Luffy being set up to be like Roger and Garp, which is like really fucking cool. We see Garp for the first time. I like Garp. We see Bogard for like a second and never see him again. I like Romance Dawn, but for the quality of the actual like anime, it's in 4x3. It's super old. You know, it is what it is. There's not really you can do about it. Although they are redoing it. I think Romance Dawn as a plot point, probably S, but I'm gonna put it in A because when I was watching it was just bad quality and I didn't love it. Orange Town, I love Buggy as a character, but I found Orange Town not to be an S, but an A. Even though I liked Buggy as a character, it's not the greatest. Syrup Village, we get to meet Usopp. He's kind of set up as the whole, you know, Boy Who Cried Wolf, which I actually really like, but I found Syrup Village to be annoyingly boring. I don't really like the villain in Syrup Village. You know, Kaya's butler, mid-ass villain. Also, in the anime, it's like 20 episodes longer than it should have been. Baratier. I like Baratier, and I love Sanji as a character, but I'm going to put it in B for one reason and one reason only. Zeph does not give Sanji his book. He almost gives Luffy his book, and then doesn't give it to Sanji. Sanji's the only one who, Sanji should get it. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Arlong Park was Nami's whole arc. We get Nami in Orange Town. Finally get Nami's actual backstory in Arlong Park. I love Arlong Park. I think what's really, really interesting in Arlong Park was Arlong just kind of sits there and watches as each of his crew gets one by one individually taken down. It's like, are you just not going to jump in until you fight the last person? Are you kidding me? I thought that was really interesting. Logtown is the first S tier, and let me tell you why. Because S tier, well, Logtown is where we get the Will of D, and we see that Luffy just has fucking destiny on his side, because Luffy sits there and we have the whole Will of D where he's like, hey guys, hey Zoro, hey Nami, hey Usopp, sorry, I'm dead. And just like, it's like, what the hell? And I thought that was really cool, actually. And then we have boom, it's like a lightning strike. And Buggy's like, whoa, what the fuck? And then he like gets down from it and like saves Luffy's life. Now, whether or not you want to say that Dragon did that, we can say that whatever. We can say whatever we want. But I think that's just straight up Luffy having destiny on his side, you know? And I think that's a lot cooler because we notice in a lot of these other arcs like Alabasta where Luffy just straight up dies like 3 or 4 different times and comes back just because of destiny, you know? Fucking crazy. Luffy has plot armor, but even better plot armor because it's, you know, the story has a reason for it. So I think that's really cool. Reverse Mountain, I love Laboon. Laboon's also very heavily tied to the One Piece. We get Crocus. We meet Crocus, who we end up learning was a part of Goldie Roger's crew. I like the idea of going straight up the Red Line. I mean, I think that Luffy's dream in and of itself is just to destroy the Red Line, uniting the whole world in one piece. Maybe I spoiled that for you. Get fucked. Oops. Whiskey Peak. Whiskey Peak I liked only because Zoro is the only one that has an alcohol tolerance, and everybody else just kind of passes the fuck out. And it's like, oops. You might have all died, but Zoro's cool. So, that works. I like Zoro just goes on a mass killing spree here, which I thought was really cool. But I didn't love it. It's kind of an in-between arc. Little Garden I liked a lot because of Usopp's kind of story. Usopp's lies, a few of his lies come true during Little Garden, where the goldfish thing becomes true. And I like his thing where he's watching Dory and Bragi fight, and they've been fighting for like 50 or 100 years or whatever. And Usopp's like, man, I really hope to be like that and go to Elbaf one day. And now that they're in Elbaf now in the manga, we're gonna see that might be his whole arc. Drum Island, I love Chopper as a character a lot. I also think Drum Island is a very much foreshadowed to be most of what the Void Century is about. Like, let's remember that Oda originally intended for One Piece to only last 5 years long. So there's a lot of foreshadowing done in Drum Island. Alabastas is another S tier because I love Crocodile as a villain. I love Mr. One as a villain. Zoro's fight with Mr. One was awesome. I like Vivi and her Nefertari family a lot. I feel like that has a lot of deep connections to Emu, although we don't know a ton about it right now. And especially watching through it, you don't really get to know about it. But that's a really interesting arc as well. Also, Luffy is just like, that seems like a crocodile-ish hole, and then goes down and finds crocodile. And it's like, bro, what did he have, like plus 100 perception level right there? Like, what the hell is that? Jaya, I love because it's pretty much foreshadowing the entire story of One Piece, especially Skypiea as well, having the map to where the One Piece is, or Laugh Tale rather. I love the Shandoria Noland arc with this. Jaya's really, I'm gonna leave that at A, and we'll theorize more about Jaya in the future. Skypiea, I love Skypiea has my favorite villain of all time, Enel or Enaru, depending on whether you watch the dub or the sub. But Enu, he that one clip where he has the spear through his head and he looks at the camera and he's like, "Don't you know? I'm a god." I was like, "Whoa!" And also in his cover story where we see Enel go to the moon, find these little people on the moon, and they have no more resources. They have to come down to the Earth. I found that to be really interesting. Long Ring Line Land is very much foreshadowing for what the exact One Piece is. What the Davy back fights are pretty fucking awesome. We learn about Davy Jones for the first time, which is pretty cool. They flip 3 coins, which I think is a reference to Davy Jones' 3 devil fruits, which I think is also really fucking awesome. But Long Ring Long Land as an arc in and of itself is very fucking boring. I literally couldn't stand it. I found it so fucking boring. So I'm going to put it in F, and whether or not you agree with me, I don't care. Water 7, I'm going to put it in, it would be an S tier because I love Water 7, but I'm going to put it in A for the same reason that I don't really love Dressrosa and Wano, because it just takes so goddamn long to get to the point. The start of Water 7 takes too long. The start of Dressrosa takes too long. The start of Wano takes too long. They eventually get it to where it's like peak fiction, but the start takes too long. Enies Lobby, we get the whole "I want to live" awesome. Also, Nico Robbins, got awesome. Peak fiction. Also, Enies Lobby just as an island just floating in the center of, whoa. We get the reveal of where the gates open. You see, holy shit, that's really fucking cool. Post Enies Lobby was kind of boring. It's kind of in between. We see Garp and Kobe and Helmeppo again, which is pretty cool, but Thriller Bark, I thought was incredibly fucking a snooze fest, dude. I love Brook. I love Bink Sake. I love Zoro's fight with, I was going to say Shushui, but you know who I'm talking about. I thought that was really fucking interesting. But most of the time, I think Thriller Park is really fucking boring and was a snooze fest for me, so call me what you want in the comments. I didn't really love Thriller Bark. Either way, Saba Odi Archipelago. One of the best arcs in the series. We finally get Silver's Rayleigh. Really fucking cool. We also see Luffy punch one of the Celestial Dragons. Awesome. We meet Silver's Rayleigh. Awesome. Silver's Rayleigh teaching Luffy. Awesome. Everybody kind of getting their own island. Awesome. Amazon Lily, I loved as well. We get that clip where Luffy's like straight up naked in front of all these bitches, and they're like, "Whoa, what the hell are nuts?" And I found that to be not only really funny, but that's peak fiction. Impel Down as a not a metaphor, but it's Dante's Inferno, which I thought was really fucking cool. We meet Jinbei for the first time. We see Ace again in Impel Down. We break Ace out of prison, which is really cool. Marineford, oh my god, my favorite arc in this series by far. Marineford's awesome. Nobody really dies in the series before Marineford, and then when we get to Marineford, we get big heavy deaths. Ace dies, Whitebeard dies. Uh, Blackbeard gets Whitebeard's fruit, which I thought was pretty fucking crazy. Either way, the whole fucking war of Marineford was just so sick. Post-war was really good as well. We get to see Jinbei kind of consoling Luffy for the loss that he's gone through with Ace, and we get the backstory with Luffy, Ace, and Sabo. I like that a lot, actually. Return to Sabaody. Alright, Return to Sabaody. I liked this arc, but I didn't love this arc. It's going to be a B tier arc. Now, okay, I do also want to say, these bad arcs, there is no bad arc in One Piece, okay? All of One Piece is good. There's just some arcs that are better than others, okay? And when I say that these arcs are F or D tier, that doesn't mean they're the worst thing you ever watch. That means they're not as good comparatively to all the other arcs. Return to Sabaody for what it was. I liked seeing everybody after the time skip. It was really cool. I didn't necessarily love that every villain they came across, they just kind of one-shotted, because, they were all just kind of trying to show off their powers. Also, no explanation for why Zoro lost his eye, which I had kind of still have a problem with. But I think that, and we'll get into that later. Also, them all having their whack job counterparts, I thought was funny, but I didn't think was the greatest. I think it was kind of boring, but I liked it for what it was. Either way, Fishman Island, D tier arc, bro. Oh my god, I liked Fishman Island. I mean, I think Shirahoshi will end up being really, really important to the series. But do I think Fishman Island was a great arc? No. We have this entire plot point around Sanji almost dying because he lost too much blood after seeing some titties. Bro, I get it. He hasn't seen titties in 2 years. Fuck, dude. Don't give Sanji such a bad time skip then. It's such a fucking... That's so gay. Punk Hazard. I like the idea of the Fire and Ice Island. I'm going to put it in C because I hated Caesar Clown as a villain. It's kind of the premise for Dressrosa, which I liked, but Caesar Clown taking and doing kidnapping and doing scientific experiments on children was a very taboo topic to kind of theme an entire arc after. Which I get it. It makes you kind of hate Caesar Clown, which I do, because he's fucking obnoxious and annoying. But I'll leave it where it is. Dressrosa. I love Dressrosa as an arc. It's Spaniard. The entire Lucy and him being in the Coliseum was so fucking cool. Sabo getting his introduction and getting the Flame Frame Fruit was awesome. Doflamingo as a villain in himself is so fucking cool. Also, getting the backstory to Trafalgar Law was awesome. The only gripe I have with Dressrosa, I really had a problem with this because I love Doflamingo as a character, even as a person. Fucking love him. Awesome character. But I felt that his Devil Fruit was really cool, but a little bit underpowered because even though it was awakened, it didn't really help him fight Luffy. And my problem with Dressrosa was, I also thought that Dressrosa started a little bit long. But I guess I didn't really have a problem with that because I like Dressrosa so much. But my problem with Dressrosa was Luffy just straight up one-shots Doflamingo. Luffy gets Gear 4 and goes boom, fight over. My favorite villain in this series, bam, the arc's over. What the hell, bro? Are we serious here? Are we serious? In Wano, Luffy unlocks Gear 5 and it kind of takes him to the level of Kaido. And then they fight it out there. I wanted to see a lot more from Doflamingo. A lot more. But we didn't. So, that's a big-ass disappointment. Zoe, I liked, but I didn't love. Because there's all these furry fucking people walking around. But I love the idea of Dogstorm and Cat Viper pretty much almost giving their lives to save the ninja from Wano. So that was really fucking cool. Also, we get the Road Poneglyph in the whale. here, and whales are a big symbol in One Piece. Um, I love Zunisha just as a character as a whole. Zunisha has the same eyes as Mihawk and Emu, which I find really interesting. Zoe just being a island on the back of a walking elephant is really fucking cool. Just the idea of that was really awesome. You can't find it from a log pose. You have to like just come across it. Really cool. What else? Zoe. I'll leave it where it is. Whole Cake Island just happened to be one of my favorite in the series. Big Mom. I mean, Sanji finally gets a girl. Finally, holy shit, finally. And then she ends up being this fucking bitch. Backstab Sanji. Sanji ends up on the porch smoking like the James Bond character that he is. And actually, I thought that he treated the situation with her very well. And then he just ends up still being a gooner after Whole Cake Island, which I thought the whole point of Whole Cake Island was to like grow Sanji as a character. Did he stop gooning? No. What the hell? Reverie, I really liked, but I didn't love. It's kind of an in-between arc, but we get to see Vivi again. We get to see all these people of, the Straw Hat Fleet as well. Some of it, at least. Wano, I thought, I'm going to put it in S just for what it is. It's a super mega arc. It's like the longest arc in the series. Although Wano is really fucking good. I like Momonosuke as a character, even though it was kind of obnoxious near the end. Kaido as a villain is really fucking cool. Also, the idea of him getting drunk and getting more powerful was just so funny. I love that shit. That's so awesome. Let me think. The fights between Sanji and Queen was cool. Fights between Nico Robin finally gets a fight after like I don't even know how many arcs. Zoro versus King is cool, even though we didn't see Zoro, open his other eye during that fight, which I would love to see. That was kind of a disappointment. Zoro does Ashura again, which is really fucking cool in Wano. Unlock Gear 5 is the fucking coolest thing ever. Like, the sickest thing. Also, I really liked that, Luffy didn't just get Gear 5 and one-shot Kaido. Like, it's also a kind of a testament to how strong Kaido was, because Kaido is fucking incredibly strong. Like, just the fact that you couldn't even harm him unless you were imbuing your attacks with Conqueror's Haki, so cool. So cool. Which made Kaido, and we have this big war. Law and Kid fight and kill Big Mom. Luffy fights Kaido and pretty much just one-on-ones him. I mean, even though Kaido was straight up fighting everybody the entire time for like days on end and then ended up fighting Luffy and then losing. But Luffy also had to go through the entire island of Onigashima, the entire raid on Onigashima just to get to Kaido. So they both were fighting a ton before they got to each other. Now there's no Egghead on here, but I would put Egghead in A or B. I really liked the fight between Lucci and Luffy. We get them stealing Vegapunk, which was pretty cool. I like that a lot. I like Vegapunk as a character. Although I feel his voice is kind of obnoxious. Elbaf, I would put, S. I'm loving what I'm seeing with Loki. Loki's such a cool character. And I also think Luffy will end up getting Pluton in Elbaf, so that's pretty cool. But either way, this is the tier list, and we're going to get into my theories, and then we're going to end it with why I think Haki is. Alright guys, we have now gotten to my favorite part of the video, the theories. And I'm going to kind of rapid fire these theories, just to get them all out, so I don't make this video, hours long. So if there's no explanation for exactly why I believe certain theories, then I'm sorry, but let's get into it. So as me writing this video, we are at manga chapter 1160. So where do I think the story is going from here? Obviously, the manga is in Elbaf. We're just starting the God Valley flashbacks. We're going to get a ton of new information we never got before, but the most recent thing that we just got is the Davy clan. Roxy Zebek is not Roxy Zebek, it is Davy D. Zebek. Also, Blackbeard's name is not Marshall D. Teach, it is Davy D. Teach. We also got the fact that most of the Davy clan are Buccaneers, which is pretty fucking cool. And that's a massive reveal. So I had thought for a while that the Will of D might have meant the Will of Davy Jones, but I guess not. So as a mild theory, I think the D might stand for dawn or dusk, where the Will of D will bring the dawn to the world, liberating all from the tyranny of the world government. See what I'm getting at there? People are going to get mad at me for saying this one, but I actually don't think Luffy will be the one to find a One Piece. I think it's going to be Blackbeard. Let me tell you why. Because I think the One Piece holds treasure, yes. But as Gold Roger said, he left all his treasure there. But actually, I think Blackbeard would find the treasure. The story itself needs a massive low point for Luffy. And if Blackbeard gets the One Piece, takes all the treasure, but doesn't actually do anything with it, or doesn't find it doesn't bother to read the story, doesn't, go to the true treasure, I could see that happening, and Luffy finds the One Piece as well, and then actually does what was supposed to be done with it. Luffy always says he's going to be the king of the pirates, but he never says, I'm the next king of the pirates. It's just the fact that I think that Luffy needs a big dramatic moment and to have all his dreams stolen from him just to go back and defeat Blackbeard. Although I think that to defeat the world government, Luffy and Blackbeard might actually need to team up to defeat Emu. So what do I think the One Piece is? Well, I think when Blackbeard finds Laugh Tale, he won't really care about anything other than treasure and leave the rest for anybody else who might actually look deeper. I think I wrote down here that I think Laugh Tale could hold Pluton, but I'm sure that's not actually the case because Pluton is actually under Wano. But I'm pretty sure Blackbeard's going to get Pluton and Frankie is going to build Luffy his own Pluton. And it's probably going to happen in Elbaf before we leave Elbaf. But actually, I think the real One Piece is going to be a whale. Specifically, Laboon's brother, Binks. In the song Bink Sake, we're supposed to bring a sake back to Binks. Binks is a robot whale that serves to destroy the Red Line. I mean, what was Laboon doing the whole time? He's kind of like a robot whale anyways. He was trying to destroy the Red Line the whole time. We're not really sure why exactly he was trying to destroy the Red Line. But I think that if we were to bring Binks his sake, Binks and Laboon kind of team up, hit the Red Line super hard, boom, destroy it entirely, and uniting the world into one piece. I said it! Oh my god, see what I did there? But that's just a theory. A game theory. Now, what I also want to get into is what I think Blackbeard's third devil fruit will be. After all, he's got 3 skulls on his Jolly Roger, 3 things on his belt buckle, and it's been long foretold. That means he's getting a third and final devil fruit. And I think his third and final fruit is going to be the human fruit model Davy Jones. Or let me clarify exactly what I mean by that. Or rather, I think Davy Jones was the counterpart to Joy Boy during the Void Century and aligns with one of the gods. How Joy Boy kind of has the will of Nika, the sun god's will. I think that there's a specific god that has a will correlated to Davy Jones. And whatever god that is what's going to be Blackbeard's third and final devil fruit. Now, what I also think that is, third and final devil fruit could totally be Buggy's fruit. The chop fruit is really something else. And I heard a lot of theories saying that Buggy might be Sebek's son as well. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. That being said, I could also see the 3 skulls on Blackbeard's Jolly Roger aligning with something else, and Blackbeard and his 2 fruits being special in and of themselves. I say this because in Skypiea we have the Sun God, Luffy, the Forest God, which could or could not be Chopper's devil fruit. I don't know about that one though. We have the Earth God, which could or could not be Blackbeard's Tremor fruit. And after all, Whitebeard never awakened that fruit, so we don't really know what that fruit is. And I saved the craziest one for last, that I think Blackbeard's dark fruit could or could not be the water god fruit. Either that or Emu's devil fruit is the water god fruit, because that's just straight up too powerful, and it's either going to be given to Blackbeard or Emu. I could even see like a water Logia being given to Emu. That would be pretty OP. But I think the reason his dark fruit is a mythical Zoan god fruit is, well, one, because it looks pretty much identical to Luffy's human fruit model Nika. But I think his dark fruit could be a portal to Davy Jones' locker. Speaking of, Davy Jones' locker, as said by Nico Robin in Long Ring, Long Land, Davy Jones is a cursed pirate from ancient time that lived under the sea. That he takes all the ships and treasure that sinks to the sea floor, and that's where Davy is now. And Brooks says this in chapter 1138, the deep water currents down to Davy Jones' locker flow along the seabed at a rather leisurely pace. So slow, in fact, it takes 2,000 years before they ever reach the surface again. So if we ever go down to Davy Jones' locker, it's going to have to be through some portal, because there's no way we're taking the sea currents. 2,000 years, you'd be dead before you even got there. Now, I have somewhat of a theory that Laugh-Tale could be at the bottom of Davy Jones' locker. But then again, how the fuck would Gold Roger get there? So let me introduce you my other theory, as the island of Laugh-Tale could be heavily tied to the remnants of Skypiea. Now keep in mind, Oda only planned originally for One Piece to last 5 years, ending soon after Skypiea. In chapter 253, you learn that Upper Yard and Skypiea actually used to be part of the island Jaya, down on sea level. When you put the maps together, they form a giant skull-shaped island with the left eye missing. So the modern city of Jaya is the bottom, and the golden city of Shandora is the right eye. And as Shandora got pushed up into the sky, becoming Skypiea, I think that the island of Laugh-Tale, the right eye, is at the bottom of the sea, and could even be in Davy Jones' locker, never to be reached by anybody except through being swallowed up by Blackbeard's dark fruit. Now there could be another way to get there. That's how Roger got there. I don't know. But that's just my theory for now. I also have heard that Laugh-Tale could be in 2 other places. Either at the bottom of Ennie's lobby, or at the city where it all started, Logtown, where Roger said he left his treasure there for you to find. And he means, like, literally, like, right there. So I've heard both of those theories, and I somewhat subscribe to those theories as well. So that's my One Piece theory. Now let's get into a few minor theories I think I might actually have right. With Dragon's devil fruit. I believe that Dragon's devil fruit is either a wind Logia, or it is the mythical Zoan Quetzalcoatl, making him the god of wind according to Aztec mythology. I'm just going to go through these theories as fast as possible for time's sake, and just to get what I think out on the board. I think Usopp has a dream very unlike the others. His dream is very unphysical or intangible like the others. Like for Sanji to find the All Blue, that's an actual place for him to go. For Nami to draw her world map, that's something she can actually tangibly do. But Usopp just wants to be a brave warrior of the sea. Usopp is almost like Buggy, where he almost fails upwards, where he ended up being called God Usopp on Dressrosa, and his lies always coming true. He has one lie that is yet to come true, his 8,000 men army that he is commanding behind him, which I'm sure in the final saga he'll accomplish. But I actually think that Blackbeard and Zebex and Usopp's long noses have something to do with each other, and Usopp might actually be named Davy D. Usopp. That being said, there's a lot of the Straw Hats that we don't know the last names of, like Nami could be heavily tied to Gloriosa because they look pretty much identical. But that's my theory for Usopp. For Usopp to accomplish his goal of being a brave warrior of the sea, I could see him being the only Straw Hat of the crew to die to accomplish his goal, as there may not be any other way for him to accomplish what he set out to do, honestly. Buggy's Devil Fruit is exactly the opposite of Luffy's fruit, where Luffy is immune to blunt forces, but he's vulnerable to cuts. And Buggy's pretty much the exact opposite, where he's immune to cuts, but he's vulnerable to blunt attacks. And Buggy's fruit could totally be a god fruit because somehow it does look very, very similar to Luffy and Blackbeard's fruits, both being like purple with these specific swirls on them and shit. I have no idea where Buggy's nose could come from, but the blue hair from Zebek does fit. I'm just saying. Now, who do I think will be the last Straw Hat? Luffy says he wants a crew of 10 men, where he only has 9 as of now. I could see him meaning 10 men in total, like including him. But I don't know if there's a few different ideas for who I think the last Straw Hat will be, and we'll go through a few of them. My first one is Vivi. And the reason I say that is because she pretty much already was one with the whole X thing. And Emu is seen to have a picture of someone that looks exactly like Vivi, presumably being Vivi's ancestor, who Emu might have been in love with when Emu created the world government. And she, as a world noble family, is the only family to not live in Marie Joie with the rest of the nobles. And that could be for a reason. Vivi's ancestor wanted to just get away from Emu, and Vivi might just be the last piece of the puzzle we need to defeat Emu. Now, Luffy, as of recently, also invited Loki to be a part of his crew, which I think would be so sick. But I don't know how logistically Loki would fit onto the Thousand Sunny. Although, I'm like 90% sure that Frankie is going to build Luffy his version of Pluton on Elbaf, because he literally has the tree of Yggdrasil, the Atom Tree, to get its wood from, to build Luffy his very own Pluton. But do I think Loki will actually join the Straw Hats? No, because of Loki's admiration towards Zebek. And I would even go as far as to say that it's more likely that Loki joins Blackbeard's crew than it is Luffy's crew, knowing that Rocksteady Zebek is Blackbeard's father. Now, my last one would be Yamato. Now, she never formally received an invitation to be a Straw Hat, but she always wanted to be one. And I just really want her to catch up with the Straw Hats through her cover story. She's returning Yasui's sword back to Enma's shrine, and now she may catch up with the Straw Hats. Also, because goddamn, she's so fucking bad. Like, yeah! Do I think Sanji and Usopp will get Conqueror's Haki? Yes, most likely. When? I don't know. I think Robin would become pretty much unstoppable if she had Armament Haki, which would be so sick, because if she's gonna fight the Thorn God Knight, or Gorsei, maybe, I don't know exactly, the dude with the thorns, if she's gonna fight him, then she's gonna need Armament Haki. The next one, I think Shanks sacrificed his arm to the sea monster because it had the Mark of the Abyss. The Mark of the Abyss had Emu able to teleport Shanks right to him the whole time, so to free himself from Emu's control, he needed to get rid of the arm. Shanks is also left-handed, so that's truly a rip. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Zoro's eye is just a super observation Haki hack waiting to be unlocked, because with Hawkeye Mihawk name literally being Hawkeye, I think his observation Haki could just be something else. I mean, he was fighting Shanks, who had literally like minutes worth of future sight, so he had to have something. I can see him having some type of eyes that align with like nobody else other than Emu and Zunisha, because the way that Mihawk's eyes are shaped with like the red and the black circles is only similar to Emu and Zunisha. So I could even see Mihawk being a former Holy Knight as well, and leaving that world to kind of do his own thing, roaming around the East Blue just cuz. But Zoro's eye is just a crazy observation Haki hack, is what I think it is. Also, nobody asked about Zoro losing his eye after this time skip. Like, are we serious? Nobody noticed? The fuck? Oda's got to be hiding it for a reason, and I think it'll give Zoro a power-up too big for right now. Alright, so I've got some theories out. I want to explain why I put Haki is real in the title. Obviously, we can't turn our skin black by will, and I know others... We can't just knock out others from a look. We can actually do something similar. Armament Haki is the only one I think doesn't translate perfectly into real life. But Haki as a power system is just the manifestation of the human will. It is the physical manifestation of will. And I think the human will can take a physical manifestation where if you're in a restaurant and some big ass dude with a killer stare walks in, even if, you're sitting at a table where he walks in behind you and you can't even see him, you feel the presence of it. If you're a dude with some testosterone out there, you know what I mean. You'll notice the predator in the room. Now, that's more or less an evolutionary instinct bred into us because the people without the ability to sense a predator pretty much just straight up died off. Now, guys, you can believe that one as a physical manifestation of the human will or not, that's fine. But my real evidence for it is this is kind of like more or less Conqueror's Haki because you're just looking. Obviously, I don't think observation Haki would be like a really a real thing. I mean, that would be sick if you could just sense something coming at you before it actually does. I mean, we have some sort of that just because of like evolution and shit, but I heard about this sleep experiment a little while ago where someone would be sleeping and then they would start being watched randomly, and the person sleeping would like wake up because they could like feel that they're being watched even while they're sleeping. So that proves it. Conqueror's Haki is real. No, I'm just playing. But I do think there is some sort of physical manifestation of the human will put into practice. Whether it be scientifically provable, I don't know. But it's just a theory. A game theory. All right. But yeah, that's why I say that Haki is real, guys. So that's my One Piece video. I really just wanted to make this one, even though I really wanted to make this video even throughout watching One Piece, because it's such an intriguing show to watch. I've been keeping up with the spoilers for the manga week by week and watching theories nonstop. Like I said earlier, I think watching One Piece, not only for the story itself, being literally peak fiction, but the best part of it is theorizing with your friends and watching the YouTube videos. I'd say I got probably 60% of my One Piece information from actually watching the show. Another like 40% of it, so like a good chunk, almost half of what I know about One Piece comes from YouTube theories about One Piece. So we're at a huge point in the story right now with the God Valley flashback. I'm really, really interested to see what happens next. I just really wanted to get out all my thoughts in one story in one video, and I'm glad you guys watched to this point. I'm watching Bleach as of right now, and I'm loving it so far. Bleach delves deep into the power system, which is kind of my only gripe with One Piece, so that's really cool. When I finish Bleach, maybe I'll make a video comparing the big three to each other. Because, at that point I would have watched all three, Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. So if you want to see that video, drop a like and subscribe. And if you made it this far, thank you very much. It's a long-ass video, so I applaud you for making it this far. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.